So, this is a presentation and an analysis of the short story, A Love Story, written by Rosemary Yates, a British author in 1976. The analysis I'm going to be speaking of will have a focus on the main character's behaviour and the main theme of the story, insecurity and how it affects love. To do this, I will be looking through characterization, through narration and symbolism and contrasts in the story. So, to start off, characterization. The main character we first meet is very insecure and seeks affirmation in others or by projecting these insecurities on others. We can see this in the first quote from page 16, line 20. These all think I'm cheap or have been stood up. This proves to us that the character is self-conscious and thinks about how others perceive her. It gives us a general feel of how she thinks and that she is self-conscious of her social status and what it would mean for her to have been stood up. Apart from the main character, we also meet the boy, the person who the main character is waiting on, her date. The boy, who's also unnamed, just like our main character, is described as casual, but later on shows himself to be very sensual and sexual, perhaps a bit in a way that can be violating to someone. But for the casual aspect, we can see the quote up here, page 17, line 7 to 9. He'd be like that, very casual, pretty decent, a bit shy, not like most boys. This proves to us that the boy is different. He is not like most boys. The main character feels good about the boy and feels like this one is going to be a good one. But as we see later on in the story, in this quote here from page 19, line 21 to 23, he fingers the buttons. His hand moves nearer slowly. No, you mustn't! Don't let your hands wander, at least not until I know you better. The main character gets desperate, but she dares not speak out, the fear of what the consequences might be. The boy appears to not be so much interested in the romantic element of the relationship, and instead focuses more on the sensual and sexual part of it. Apart from the main character and the boy, there is also quite a lot of talk from the narrator about a certain person called Katie, a good friend, at least she used to be, of the main character. Katie is described as kind of a bit of a loser, someone who is bullied and, or at least teased, someone who's mocked, someone who's not really following the mainstream. We can see this in this quote down here from page 17, line 17 to 19. But she's too fat. She ought to diet. I like her, but she looks like a pink barrel. It proves to us that Katie, maybe at least, does not care as much about the norms enforced in society and the norms that are forced on girls, particularly about body weight. And we also see an example of our main character projecting her insecurities onto Katie by being rather rude. Enough about characterization. Now though, we may move on to narration, and the narrator in the story is rather interesting, as it is not only a first-person narrator, but it is also a stream of conscience. A stream of conscience consists of thoughts from a character. This time it would be our unnamed main character, who fills the text and descriptions of various things with subjective opinions, as we can see in the quote here from page 17, line 17 to 19, the one we had before, but with an extra line added on. But she's too fat, she ought to diet. I like her, but she looks like a pink barrel. I don't want to be nasty, but she does. The main character here is projecting her insecurities, but instead of feeling apologetic or perhaps guilty for being rude to Katie, she instead justifies them, and this is and paints herself in a bit of a good light. Whereas if she had described someone else doing this, she might have described them as a bully or as someone, a person being a bit of a dick. Here, instead, she defends herself. She justifies herself for, yes, the reader, but perhaps also a bit for herself, to cover up her insecurities about projecting previous insecurities, creating another layer of just bad negative feelings about not only herself, but now also other people. Now we may also move on to symbolism and the contrasts in the symbolism in the story. This is specifically done with clothing choice quite a lot. We can especially see this with Katie and our main character, as they are contrasting characters in the story. So, we may start with the quote down here, from page 17, line 4 to 5. "But the other dress is nice. Blue suits me. I'll go in for it tomorrow." And the quote above, from page 17 as well, but from line 20 to 22. "From here I can see her woolly hair and pink coat. She still wears it." Blue is often the colour of sadness and depression. At least it can be thought of in this situation. And the thing it symbolises is the main character's descent into the acceptance of the norms. She's not quite there yet. She's not wearing the blue dress of kind of the forced norms, but she's considering it. She's tempted. She'll go in for it tomorrow. Whereas Katie is wearing a pink coat. She's still wearing it. She has not quite lost her childish innocence, and the coat she wears, pink, symbolises girlhood and the kind of bombastic nature of a child's mind. And especially in this case, a dress would be fitting for the weather they are enduring. A dress would not be, whereas a coat, that would be very fitting, since it is raining. And this can also be seen in the next set of quotes about the kind of shoes the characters have on. So let's take the first one here from page 16, line 5 to 7. "Scratched. 2 white shoes with a buckle, brand new, now scratched. It can't be noticed. 3 tiny marks, but it can't be noticed." The next one, also from page 16, line 14 to 18. "I wish I'd put on my boots." There's Katie, waiting on the corner, alone. She's wearing her white boots. White is not only the colour of faith, but particularly in this circumstance, the colour of innocence. The main character's shoes are unfit for the current situation. She wishes she had her boots on, but nonetheless she has 2 white shoes, brand new. And those are scratched. Her innocence is scratched. Whereas Katie, she does not care for fashion, she does not care about appearances. She wears her white boots. Her innocence is preserved. And this brings us to our conclusion and what the story is really about. I believe, from the analysis I've conducted, that it is a critique of the norms that are forced upon young women and young girls, especially teenage girls. And the story tells us a story through narration, letting us know what the inner workings of these insecurities are in a girl's mind. It does it through symbolism to give us indirect clues and critiques of society, and does this whilst still staying with some relatively stereotypical characters as to give a general picture of society and critiquing that society. And that is my analysis of A Love Story by Rosemary Yates. Thank you for watching, listening, or whatever you're. I hope you have a continued fantastic day. Thank you.